It's a very common term used every day, especially in the circle of psychology and counseling, to describe all this, albeit rather negative and harsh, but that term is daddy issues. And it's truly terrifying to me personally as a father and as a grandfather, the level of influence and impact that fathers have, either positively or negatively, on our children. And not just our own children, but those who consider us to be father figures in their life. It's terrifying. Why? Because I know the mistakes that I've made. And I know that I'm going to have to give an account for every careless word that I have spoken on the day of my judgment, Matthew 12:36. Prayerfully, this morning, the word father brings to mind someone who shepherds and who protects and who encourages and who stays close and never leaves. But for some of us, it often brings up adjectives like distant or aloof or passive or present or unreliable or selfish or uncaring or even cruel.
In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me.
Even among Christian families, far too many kids experience emotional indifference and self-centered neglect from their dads. And all of this has a very profound effect on how we relate to our Heavenly Father. This is so prevalent in so many lives, especially those of whom Kathy and I are trying to reach coming out of Islam. A few years ago, we met a young Afghan woman who had been sold by her father at the age of 9 to another man to settle a debt as a fourth wife. This man was about 42 years old, and he took her home and put her in his basement and used her as a sex slave. Locked her in a basement at 9 years old. When she was 13, she conceived and had a son who lived in that prison basement with her. And at 19 years of old, she managed to find a way to escape this basement. She took her 7-year-old son and escaped 10 years in this prison. She walked out of Afghanistan. She walked across Iran. She worked her way across the entirety of Turkey, surviving and supporting her son the only way that she knew how, is selling her body. And through the use of a smuggler, she made it across the Aegean, and she made it to Athens and came through my door. And along the way, she had found a Farsi language New Testament, and she and her son read that God is a loving Father. How do you think that hit her ear? How do you think that hit the ear of the son who knew where he came from? And so I set them down and I took them to a story in Genesis 16. And I told them that Jesus not only atones for the sins that we commit, but he atones for the sins and atrocities committed against us.
At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow. At the name of Jesus, every tongue